Welcome to Hosoe Caffè Conversations. I'm Alessandra. I'm BTS Army since 2019. This is Taro.
I'm Taro, the husband of the BTS Army.
He's like a passive listener, like a passive smoker.
Yeah, well, hopefully
This kind of.
not as toxic.
So the topic of today is BTS and Asian male representation. And first of all, we have Ethiopian coffee to try, right? This is made as filter coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. It's got that blueberry taste, typical of some of the natural coffees from Ethiopia.
Yeah, so this is our, we have our roastery here in Zurich, and this is one of our most
beloved products.
Yeah, so this is Ethiopian with natural process. And I will give all the information of our coffees in the below, and then you can also write me a WhatsApp if you have questions, and we send all over the world. So about the topic of today, I always been interested in Asian male representation since I guess I met you, so it's like more than a quarter of a century. And I remember up to 2012, I remember, like, for example, in 2012, a TED talk from an Asian American guy expressing his discomfort of the Asian representation and how for him was difficult to fit in the society because of the projection of this kind of representation. He was saying, like, I'm not smart, I'm not good in math, I don't have this kind of skills, and people expect me to be like, to do some kind of profession in which I'm like scientific or academic or this kind of, and he was really like expressing his discomfort, and so and up to that period was the representation, and it is really much what you find in the media up to that period. Like I talking about films, for example.
We're talking about the Anglo-Saxon world or worldwide?
In my opinion, like, what is the American culture? Because it's then arrives in all over the world, it's very influential. So what's going on in the American culture then has an influence all over the world. For example, we are Italians. In Italy, you usually watch Italian films and then American films.
The American black.
And then music, you have Italian music and American music. So what is the representation in the American culture then has a huge influence all around the world. It was like that until recently. And then that was so interesting for me. I witnessed a shift. And little by little, Asian cultures, they started to gain soft power, and especially Korea. So there is, like, with what is Hallyu is called, is the Korean wave. So there is the K-pop and K-dramas. When we were young, there was a little bit of fascination with Japan, but just a little bit. It was very niche with manga.
Well, when I was at elementary school, I grew up in the 70s when I was in elementary school, and my classmates knew by heart. I think the how it's called
the jingle,
the
music,
the music of a Japanese animation, the original soundtrack in Japanese of Tekkama. and they knew it in Japanese by heart. They didn't know the meaning, obviously, but it was interesting that
because in Italy we grew up with Japanese anime, like in television, like
it was actually the Berlusconi TVs, the private televisions, which introduced the Italian people to the Japanese animations.
So there was always this niche of people interested in Japan. It was a very niche thing. And now I think for the first time, there is this axis shift and there is soft power and culture coming from Korea to the West. And there's also the food and the K-beauty. So there is really like it's like a cultural broad.
Well, also also you see all over the place the sushi places in all countries. And
but this, I mean, with cuisine, there are cuisine of other types. Do you think with Japanese cuisine there is a little bit of a...
For the last probably 10, 15 years has
There's the
seen,
boom,
I mean,
like
it's
a
everywhere.
flourish.
There are more pizzerias than I mean, there are more sushi places than pizzerias nowadays in Italy. Almost, it's.
And then they're starting with the Korean restaurants.
Yeah.
So what?
Maybe it's linked to the fact that Italy has a large probably Chinese population, immigrants, and they run those restaurants. But I don't know.
That really fascinates me. Is this cultural shift of soft power, and because it was really unexpected. I could never have predicted. We grow up with American influence, and then little by little it started. BTS, they started in 2013. They debuted. At the time, they were really a small group in a very small company, but then they started to have, because they didn't have power in the market, in the Korean market. They started with YouTube vlogs and things like that, and also they had their own like show on YouTube because they were not invited in many TV shows, things like that. So they capture interest in the West. At the same time that was in the East, there was like a sort of like the West noticed them, and so in their own country, in Korea, they say, there are people appreciating them. So there was like a snowball effect.
Okay.
And I don't say that they are the only responsible for this Asian representation of the shift, but they are the contributors, in my point of view, together with K-dramas. K-dramas started before.
Yeah.
In fact, they started in Asia first. You remember your mom watching K-dramas, or at least in Japan they came. So
yeah, in Japan they've been watched, and it's interesting also because the relationship between Korea and Japan, which was there was always tensions since Second World War.
Actually, I think this kind of pop culture helped to harmonize between the two countries. So new generation.
Well, there are now, I mean, discussion about peace accords with North Korea, for instance, with China, Japan. I believe it's China, Japan, South Korea involved, and that's interesting kind of evolution, especially in those times where we are watching wars all over the world. So
So going back to the Asian representation, so the stereotypical before the stereotypical representation was the Asian, especially male. So male and female, unfortunately, is different. So male Asian representation in the film, for example, American films, usually they were never the protagonist. They were always supporting character, the nerd supporting character.
Or the martial arts.
Or the martial arts. So the only cool representation was the martial art guy.
Bruce Lee.
And then for
Jackie
the rest
Chan.
was the nerd, like clumsy and definitely not sexually appealing. So they didn't have any sexual appeal. So it was this like stereotypical representation.
Yeah.
And that was an influence because we have to really understand that models have a huge influence also in the people growing up.
Yeah.
And then we know many musicians. Then, for example, there were no Asian musicians. So
I think it's more impactful for those probably Asian people were living in communities where there are a certain percentage of Asian kind of community. I mean, people with kind of a number of Asian present. For instance, when I was growing up, there were really like a handful of Japanese. It wasn't.
You grew up in Milan in the 70s?
I didn't grow up in a community, a Japanese community. I grew up together with my Italian peers. So I didn't have an actual representation of myself as an Asian.
Yeah, so, no, that's what I'm saying. And
so when I was I think probably 2 or 3 years old, I think I was in Japan. I went to the park with my grandfather, and I came back crying to my mom, saying that it's full of Japanese right here. So I was a bit scared, and because obviously I grew up just having around me non-Asian people, so it was yeah.
So you say, okay, so you're saying there were not even people around you in your case, but then
the kids, they knew about martial arts, Bruce Lee, probably that was it.
Yeah.
And
then so now there are, although some Chinese community was already present but was not visible. There is also this fact, no?
Yeah.
So you are not represented. Also,
from the beginning of the
they tend to really keep themselves like not in the way of people, sort of. No, they tend to be really discreet and try to don't.
I guess
they have this.
Don't you think this is something that all kind of?
There is a cultural thing, but also the reaction of the. In fact, for example, they are.
But don't you think is something that all minorities might tend to do?
A little bit, yeah. I think there is the different factors. There is cultural factor and also.
I mean, the Milan
there is the
Chinese,
fact that they are a minority.
Yeah. Chinese communities goes back to, I think, the beginning of the 20th century. So,
although if you think American and maybe English colonialist presence in like West in Oriental countries and South countries, they don't make themselves not visible. So
that's a power.
It's a power. It's a power dynamics always.
Yes, always.
There is not. So it's not everybody. For example, in America, the Asian community was called the model minority. So they are called the model minority. Model minority. Okay. So they don't create, you don't see them, they work hard, they are good at school, they don't create problems, they stay quiet. So they are called the model minority.
Okay.
No? So there are this is another stereotype. But I was thinking, for example, musician, if you play guitar, you like blues, you like rock, you didn't have representation. There was not an Asian rock star.
Yeah.
To represent you.
But so, I mean, you don't necessarily need to have that representation. I don't know.
I disagree, because there are many, for example, Asian American musicians. They wanted to be musicians,
in that perspective, yes.
And nobody took them seriously. Yeah. Nobody take a chance on them. And for example, Korean American musicians, they went to Korea, went back, but they never. Some people never lived there, didn't know the language. They had to learn the language to have a chance to become musicians there. And then some of the ones who have been successful, they came back then to their maybe they tour now in their country. So there is a lack of there are limitations if you don't have representation, because everybody is like a mindset. Everybody see you like, okay, you have to be the geeky scientist, academic, doctor. You cannot be a rock star.
Obviously,
you are not cool.
This is in a kind of in a society where like there is a kind of segregation, even mental segregation of different. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So. That was like that until I think I still remember. I have this date in my mind. It's 2012, around that period, and then little by little it started to pick up this Korean wave, and now with the K-drama and K-pop, the Asian male are seen like cool, are seen like sexy. It's so interesting for me, because of course I think there is no ethnic characteristics like that. Everybody in any type of population, you can have someone who is beautiful, someone who is not, someone who is charismatic, or someone who has other kind of skills, someone who is good at math, and someone who has different characteristics or skills. And for example, for me, it's very fascinating to see. Like I watch reactors, so people who watch BTS music for the first time and comment. And for example, it's fascinating to see like young American guys watching BTS for the first time and say, "Oh, cool!" or "What a nice fit! I would like to have this kind of jacket. I like this jacket. I like this." So they became role model for the cool guy.
Okay. Yeah.
It was never like that. Never like that. If you think about that, that's really, really, really for me, it's a very important cultural shift.
Okay.
And so it's so fascinating for me to see this, and I like, because I like diversity. I like that there is no one country that has this power. It's so much more interesting if you can have creativity, and also in art, so everywhere, coming from different kind of countries. Everybody has a chance.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, do you think there are still? Yeah, I guess there are still underrepresented. Groups.
Yeah, definitely.
Or ethnic groups, or
no, because there are this vision codes where they put people in the American culture usually. So black people, good at sport, good at music, not intelligent. Unfortunately, there is this stereotype.
Yeah, sure.
And when Barack Obama became president, there was more application for university from black people. So it is really important representation and models, because if not if you never see someone around you that can be a politician, you don't think you can be a politician. It is much more difficult to find in yourself alone this kind of drive.
Yeah,
it's so important. It's so important. It's important in every step, in every type of, in every field, in every type of profession. So I'm very. I checked out BTS with this kind of curiosity, and then I fell in the rabbit hole, how we call it. And
she really did. I can confirm.
It's nice. It's not. Okay, so how about your experience? Did you notice a shift? How people look at you in Europe? Now we live in Switzerland. We always go back now between. We lived in the UK. We live in Switzerland. We always go back to Italy. Did you notice during your lifetime a shift?
I think I noticed the younger people look at me with curiosity more now than before. I don't know.
Like in a positive way.
Yeah, in a positive way.
More interest. They take you more in consideration when you're curious.
Yeah, so like a
They
public
see
transport
you.
and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, there was something, I don't know. Maybe it is linked to this, or I don't know.
You don't know. That's interesting. Of course, then you don't have to go to the opposite extreme. Like there are people who are traveling to Korea to find guys, thinking they're all like in the K-drama sort of Prince
No,
Charming type of guy. No, of course.
No, I have
So it
nobody,
works in the positive
yeah.
and in the negative.
Yeah.
Not everybody's the same. So that's not. So nowadays there is this change, and there are these kind of situations which, again, are not. Again a stereo? You stereotype people, and again, it's not realistic. It was not when it was all negative. It's not gonna be all positive. So I discourage people to do this kind of quests in general, like to date someone for the ethnicity is always problematic. Okay. Do you have something else to add?
No, I don't think so.
You don't have any. So you did like you follow at the beginning an academic path. So you didn't stray from the what was. But did you felt in Italy this stereotype? There was in Italy this stereotype about Asians. No, but then your father was in the field of in a creative field. Okay, but design is still like an Asian skill.
Perhaps, yes. Yeah, but I think if you go into the art realm, it's a bit different.
It's more about the pop culture and the coolness of these kind of things.
Well, it's not completely though. I think Japanese art is maybe more accepted in mainstream, but for instance, black people art is maybe is less visible or less present, or I don't know. What about or I don't know, the art from Indian artists, for instance. Maybe you have something in the literature because they write sometimes in English language, so you find famous writers from the subcontinent or with that kind of origin.
And then maybe I add why I talked only about Asian male representation, because Asian female representation has a different type of stereotype.
Okay.
So because I saw a survey from a dating app, it was an old one. So basically, they surveyed the sex appeal of ethnicity, again, like what they call race in the
which doesn't exist.
In the US.
Yeah.
And there was like
people, scientifically, race doesn't exist from a genetic point of view. I think it was discovered. It was proved by an Italian geneticist who passed away a few years ago, but not too far away.
So basically, Asian male, they were the least attractive, judged the least attractive sexually. About sex appeal, this kind of attractiveness. And Asian female, they were considered the most sexy.
Okay.
So there is this stereotype. With all the projection, of course, because they are seen, submissive and extremely feminine, submissive. There are this kind of perceived.
Yeah, but that's it's a colonial view probably of submission of.
There is that.
Another ethnic group.
Definitely. So that was an old, like some years ago. I think almost 10 years ago. So I don't know if you have some, if people listen to this can contribute with, if you know about recent service. I think now it can be shifted, changed a little bit. This kind of perception and the percentage.
Yeah, I don't know.
Would be really interesting to see if there is like a. I think there is a change a little bit. So the change is in act, and I'm very curious to see where this is going in the future. So I would like to close here, I think, and I would like to ask people if we are two nerds, so any type of very nerdy topic you are curious about, maybe we have an opinion. we are opinionated people. And so I would like to close here. And Hosoe Caffè, our coffees are there is. I will list the website, my WhatsApp if you want any information. The Ethiopian coffee is not on the website. Will be soon.
Okay, my fault.
Will be soon. And we close here. Bye.
Bye.